Good morning, Santa Clarita. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Wattson, and this is SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. It is just past 8 o'clock, and it has already been a long morning. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. But you know what? It's Friday. It is officially summertime. It is gorgeous in the valley. Oh, man, it could not get any better than this. And I've got my old buddy engineer Shane working the buttons with me this morning. Super excited. Good to have you with us, Shane.
Good to be back, Matt.
Alrighty. For those of you who are catching us for the first time, our show, Eye on the Valley, is brought to you by SCVi and iLEADSchools. We're a network of charter schools with campuses in Castaic, Agua Dulce, Lancaster. We've got a fully accredited online school, a burgeoning home study program called iLEAD Exploration. Visit us at iLEADSchools.org for more information on any of our virtual classroom-based independent study or campus-based schools. We've got everything that your child needs regardless of their educational needs. Check us out at iLEADSchools.org. So yeah, we keep our eye on education here in the Valley and across the nation, but like the show says, we also like to keep our eye on the rest of the Valley as well, bringing you everything that you need to know about what's what here in the Valley. And we like to do so while having a little fun, goofing off, giggling around, having a good time, because I've got that rider in my contract that says I don't have to do anything unless I can laugh while I'm doing it. Gets me in trouble at board meetings and funerals, but, if you're not getting in trouble once in a while, you're not doing it right.
It's a weird sense of humor, Matt.
Well, I'm a weird guy, but, I have fun everywhere I go. We're going to have fun here with you today, so stick with us. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to learn a lot about some of our schools. And, we're going to celebrate summer. Summer is officially here. It's going to be I'm looking at my weather app. It's going to be a gorgeous weekend. Temperatures are going to be, I think my phone just said perfect Saturday into Saturday evening, perfecter Sunday morning and into Sunday evening. Temperatures are going to start to climb, though, because it is summer. We did, last week we did summer songs, those epic summer songs. We talked about Bananarama and Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and Sly and the Family Stone and all those folks. So, I don't know. What should we talk about today? Maybe summer blockbuster movies. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on. I was listening the other day about how Jaws was the very first summer blockbuster movie, and that was this week 48 years ago. And ever since then, studios have pushed their chips to the center of the table trying to make their movie the movie of the summer. And I was looking at movies myself a little bit this morning, seeing if we can't catch a flick tonight, maybe tomorrow, but maybe we'll talk a little bit later about summer blockbuster movies. That's fun, because right now we've got a lot to talk about. We've got another terrific show for you today. Today we will be joined by Laura Kazan. Laura is the college advisor with iLEAD Exploration. That's the home study program I was telling you about before, and they span pretty much all of not all of Southern California, only the Kern County, San Bernardino County, LA County, Orange County. I mean, they are Antelope Valley to Orange, all over the place. So, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Matt, I don't think homeschools for me. I don't think I could do that. Well, Laura's got some interesting answers for that. If you think you can't, I guarantee you're wrong. So wait to hear what Laura has to say. She's going to share her expertise and brilliance in the space, and also talk about what she's doing to help her home study folks get into college. And so, the level of support and guidance that iLEAD Exploration provides is just going to knock your socks off. Laura plays a huge role in that. And then in hour number 2, we're going to talk to my favorite parrot head. That's right, Lisa Latimer from iLEAD Agua Dulce is going to be joining us. She's the director out at iLEAD Agua Dulce. She's got some pretty big news to share with us. iLEAD Agua Dulce has been in the news quite a bit lately, and so she's going to be sharing that with us, talking about everything that's going on for next school year as we slide into the summertime. And then, of course, as we do, we'll close the show with Big T, play a little trivia with him, and send you off on your weekend with a smile on your face. It's going to be a great show. So here we go. Grab yourself another cup of coffee, and let's spend our Friday morning together. All right? So we'll keep our eye on the valley together. So let's do this. Like I said, my first guest is the college advisor with iLEAD Exploration, iLEAD's home study division. Laura Kazan hails from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and started her career in education as an English teacher, well, where every English teacher from Albuquerque should start their career, in Istanbul. Right? Of course. How else? So she herself is a parent who took her kids through home study, her own son, and she is passionate about providing access to all students and is fulfilled by providing college access points to homeschooling families. Laura, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Hi, thank you, Matt.
So, Laura, before we get started, so you were raised in Albuquerque. You started your career in Istanbul. What led you to iLEAD Exploration?
Well, I started my career in Istanbul as an English teacher and came back to Southern California from there. And I had my kids in traditional school, and the older one did great. It was a perfect match, and the younger one crashed and burned. And I pulled him out in 8th grade and kind of joined this very bizarre and interesting and wonderful community of differently educated kids. And that's how I sort of ended up at iLEAD Exploration. We joined the charter world of these independent study charter schools, and I started researching colleges. I used to work in a college, and so when I pulled my son out, I kind of had to stop what I was doing, and I continued my self-education on how do kids from charters get to college? What are the sort of rules and pathways for that? And while I was researching it, I started working with kids, and the next thing I know, I got a knock on my private messages from the director at iLEAD Exploration who said, hey, want to come to us? And I said, do you have medical insurance? And she said, we do. And I said, I'm sold. I just liked iLEAD. It wasn't just the medical insurance. But, I came on full-time. Am I going into my 5th year? Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
I am.
Wow, and so for 4 years now, you've been providing some phenomenal guidance, making sure that kids from our charter school. Now, remember, friends, charter means free. We are free public schools. Yes, we are just an alternative for you to choose. Anyways, I digress. So you've been providing college guidance for your learners at iLEAD Exploration, and you've been accomplishing some amazing things. I actually watched your graduation the other day, and I heard you talking about everything that your seniors are going on to do next year, and I was floored. Now, Laura, I've already misspoken several times today, and I'm sure you were kind of cringing or wincing as I did. I always struggle to describe iLEAD Exploration because of the nature of certain terms. I often call you a homeschool program, but you're technically an independent study, right? You and I were talking about this before the show started. Can you explain the difference for our listening audience a little bit?
So the difference between traditional homeschool and independent study, just to make sure.
Yeah,
I know what you're asking.
So you are an independent study. I say homeschool, and everybody at iLEAD Exploration goes, Matt, that's not accurate. So when I think of you, I think homeschool, but you guys are technically an independent study. So can you explain the model of iLEAD Exploration, your independent study model, and why that's not a homeschool program?
Okay, so let's go backward. So it's important to realize that in the state of California, according to California laws, there's actually no such thing as homeschool. So let's take that off the table.
Oh, okay.
You have to put your child in a school, either a public or a private school. So when you hear the word homeschool and you think of the traditional homeschool model, those are parents in the state of California. It's different in every state. Those are parents in the state of California who have created their own private school, have filed with the state. They call it whatever they want. They can call it Hogwarts. And they're educating their children at home, doing it however they choose to do it. They have no guidance. They are on their own. And the other option would be independent study. So we're not traditional homeschool in the way that when you hear about it in the media and you read about it, you're thinking about the private school homeschool. And we call it PSA for private school affidavit. We are non-classroom based independent study, and what makes us very different, we have a lot of the same curriculum options. We do a lot of the same days. We participate in the same activities as traditional homeschool students, but what's different is we have guidance. when I took my kid out of school, I joined a charter. I did not file for my own school. I wanted guidance. I wanted a community. I wanted teachers. I wanted special ed services, and all the things that a public school can offer, but still giving me freedom to make sure that my son was being educated in the best possible manner for his needs. That's the difference.
Okay. So I think I'm starting to understand now. We don't have the option to just pull our kids and not school them, right?
Yep.
So I have to put my kids in a public school or a private school. That makes sense, I think, to all of us. If I want my kid to study from home, again, I have those same options. I can put them in a public independent study program or a private school affidavit where basically I've got to take care of everything. I got to buy his books. I got to buy any curriculum that my kid needs. As to where with the independent study, the public school option that is iLEAD Exploration, y'all are going to provide me with support and I think
a framework to work within.
Absolutely, yeah. So you're going to give me that framework. You're also going to give me a credentialed teacher to guide me along. So these are kids and parents learning from home so that they have access to the flexibility and can make some of the curriculum decisions and things like that. So that's basically where you're at. Really interesting. So you do have educational funds set aside for families to use to help purchase those things that otherwise, like a classroom-based school would be buying for kids, correct? How does that work?
Yeah, so not to be confused, we don't give a big check to parents. That's not how it works. But there's a certain amount of money allotted to each learner. So a learner has, I think, I'm high school, and I don't know about all the funding, but I know with high school we're heading into an allotment of $3,500. So that just can't be spent willy-nilly. It has to be spent on things for high school. It has to be on the transcript. So if the student is studying music, we can help with that enrichment. If the learner is studying math, we help with the choice of curriculum. We can help get a tutor if you want to use that type of thing. Whatever the learner needs for learning math or learning music, we can help financially with that allotment of $3,500 a year.
So it's kind of like you're helping your school make those purchasing decisions for you, and yeah, like we said, just a lot more flexible, but still public school funded by your public tax dollars. So talk to me about the support that families get, because I constantly say, and anytime we have somebody from iLEAD Exploration on, I say, I know, because I know, I'm a parent myself. My kids just finished high school a couple of years ago, and I know what a lot of parents will think. Homeschool, I could never, right? Independent study, I could never be in charge of my kids' schooling. I couldn't handle that. It's too much for me. I wouldn't know where to start. I wouldn't know where to go. Y'all provide a lot of support, don't you?
Yeah, well, that was my thinking, too. It was like, you have to be crazy to homeschool. You have to be crazy to take control of your child's education. And then one day, I had no choice.
Yeah.
And I had to pull my kid out for his own mental health and well-being. And suddenly, I was thrust into this world I didn't understand. And luckily, I was given this great teacher from the charter that we were with who sat down with me and who provided so much support. Like just any question I had, choices I had to make. I had a whole team. I had a special ed team in my specific case. And my situation was such a nightmare at the traditional school that after my first special ed meeting, I cried because I was so relieved at the support I was getting. I had never experienced that ever. Wow. The level of support I was getting from our school. I can't even explain the relief that dripped off my shoulders when I got there. So that's the thing that makes it so different is you get a bunch of really caring people that want to be there, first of all.
Yeah.
And you get this level of support that you just don't get when your kid is a number in a building.
Right.
That they're in for 6 hours a day. You get one-on-one. You get a one-on-one teacher who works with your family over the years, not just an hour a day for a year, but over the years. You can keep the same facilitator.
Lori, you talk about a lot of stuff that I really like to hit on when I talk about iLEAD Exploration because, like I said, what intimidated me most, and I've got to confess, I don't know that I've ever mentioned this on the air, when my youngest was maybe in junior high school. He said, Dad, why can't I just homeschool? Why can't I just stay at home and homeschool? And it scared the heck out of me, and I said, no way. There's no way as a family we could do that. Had I known what iLEAD Exploration provided at that time, well, at that time, iLEAD Exploration didn't exist, but had I known that y'all were coming, I probably would have said, hey, hold on a year or two, because of all the different things that you offer. Can you share some of those benefits? Because you've mentioned, you just kind of glossed over really quickly a couple of those things. Not the 1-on-36, but the one-on-one support, the special education services that a lot of people think I have to go to a campus-based school because my child has an IEP and needs these specialized services. Can you talk about all the other benefits that Exploration offers?
So remember, I'm with the high school,
right?
And my own son started when he was in 8th grade. So I can't talk as much about the little guys, although I know because I see pictures on our staff Facebook page of all the things that they're doing, all the way down to TK, transitional kindergarten. But I can talk a little bit more about what we do with our teens. And, we have, one of the things we're trying to build at Exploration is our social activities. Mm-hmm. And so we actually have brought in 2 people just to work on the social aspects because we need to make sure they have connection, even though they're not in buildings. And right. We are creating things like proms and field days and, classroom experiences. We started our synchronous classes so that the learners can see each other live, and then we do an activity and they already know each other because they've been synchronous, and then they're in person at park days. We're just really building. We're already good, but we're building to be better. So that's our big thing for next year at the high school program is mm-hmm. we are kind of putting our in-person and our community on steroids next year. That's the goal. And so we have so many opportunities, not just for a really good education, but opportunities for social emotional well-being for our learners as well.
Yeah, and you're right. Every time I hear something else going on at iLEAD Exploration, I think, oh my gosh, you guys are doing that too. You've got so much going on just to step up and make sure that every one of your learners has everything that they need to be supported, to be successful. Laura Kazan joins me this morning. She is the college advisor with iLEAD Exploration, iLEAD's independent study division. And when we come back, Laura, I want to talk about college acceptances because that's where your bread gets buttered. That's what you're doing. That's what you're helping your learners do. And I want to talk about the process that you follow with your learners. We're going to take a quick break. We'll talk about that when we get back. I'm Matt Wattson, and this is SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. You're listening to your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Wattson, and you're listening to SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. This morning we are talking independent study, what I always called homeschool, but Laura Kazan, the college advisor with iLEAD Exploration, explained to us that there truly is no homeschooling in California. You're either in a public independent study program or you're in a private school affidavit program, and the only difference is whether or not you're getting really any support. Laura, you were talking about all the support that you provide for your families at iLEAD Exploration, all the different benefits and areas of focus that you've got at iLEAD Exploration. I was thinking about, because we mentioned, right, I had said, gosh, I could never school my kids from home. I could never teach them from home. And I actually talked to one of your parents, probably about a year ago, who said basically the same thing. Her son was floundering in the traditional public school. She didn't know what to do because the idea of homeschooling just scared the heck out of her. But she said, you know what? When the pandemic hit and my son came home and we were doing distance learning, he flourished. He did so much better. And I thought, what am I going to do? He's doing great, but I can't do this. But I have to, like you did, Laura, I have to do this for my son. She enrolled at iLEAD Exploration and found, whoa, I can do this. They have completely wrapped their arms around me and supported me, and so it was just so beautiful. And then you've got your homeschool veteran families, right? That are like, don't worry about it. I got this. Where y'all just back off and you provide as little support as they need. So let me talk to you about what you do specifically, what your wheelhouse is, Laura. Let's talk about counseling in an independent study school. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your role at iLEAD Exploration?
So I am strictly the college person. We actually have academic counselors that are credentialed counselors.
Nice.
I focus on college specifically, and I'm the life after iLEAD person, basically. That's what I call myself.
I like it.
So any student that has any kind of post-secondary goals, even if it's community college, I still work with them, although I kind of try to say, hey, maybe think about a four-year college. But I'm almost at the level of if you were to go out and you needed your child to work with someone and you were willing to pay, I don't know, $10,000 for one-on-one attention, I'm that person, but I'm free.
That is awesome. It's funny you say that because my brother had his son in the traditional public school. He was doing great. He was excelling, but they had to go out and pay. I don't know that that's how much they paid, but gosh, that sounds about right. You are that high-dollar college guidance person for free at your public independent study school, iLEAD Exploration. That is phenomenal. So there are a lot of myths about homeschooling kids, and we're debunking bunches of them this morning. But especially those kids that are older, high school age. A lot of folks don't even know that you can do an independent study program for high school. But another one is the idea that they don't go to college. Can you talk about this myth and why is that a myth? Tell us what your kids are doing.
Well, it's kind of funny because that myth is how I ended up involved in the whole college process.
All right,
I had worked at a college. I was a researcher at a college, and when my own kid went into independent study, I talked to a teacher at a different charter who just told me that students that homeschool, that was her wording, they just don't go to college. And I said, excuse me? And so I started doing the research, and absolutely they went to college. They actually, I would say, sometimes have a better shot at college, especially more selective colleges, because they're not stuck in a building 6 hours a day. They're actually doing things that are interesting to admission readers. And so that's how I became involved with, specifically because of that myth. And it's absolutely untrue. They absolutely can go to college. They can get accepted anywhere, and our kids are doing great. We had a whole handful, and every year, and this is one of the reasons why I work with iLEAD, and we have this great counseling team. Every year we increase the number of students who choose to go to a four-year college here at Exploration, because that myth was so prevalent that it was actually steering our learners in the wrong direction, and we are changing that myth. We have 4 years ago when I started and our very first full-time counselor started, that was our decision. We are changing that myth, and we are pushing our learners up and to college.
I love that, and our school is so fortunate to have you. That's amazing that myth ran so deep that even the high schoolers enrolled in our program were buying into it. But, like you said, I heard you speak at your graduation just a week or two ago that, okay, now I know you have kind of a smaller class, but I heard that your learners got into over 60 different schools. Can you talk to us about some of the colleges and universities that you helped get your iLEAD Exploration learners into this year?
Yeah, so they ended up being accepted all over the country. A lot of our learners like to stay close, and so we had a robust group of acceptances nearby. So let's start with those, just because it's easier for my brain to circle out into bigger areas. But we had the usual local Cal State universities. We actually have a learner heading to Long Beach. We have 3 heading to Northridge. We have a lot of learners that like the small faith-based schools. We have, I think, at least one going to every one of those in Southern California.
It's maybe Azusa
and then
Pacific.
we have a number of private schools. We have a learner heading to Whittier. We have a learner heading to Chapman. We have a learner heading to Loyola. We have two learners heading to two learners heading to UCLA,
Go
and one learner
Bruins!
heading to USC. Those are our locals.
All right, those are our locals. So you've kind of blanketed Southern California, some of the best schools in the world, by the way, but kids staying closer to home. And then beyond Southern California, you sending anybody off into the wild blue yonder?
Oh yeah. So we had acceptances all over, and it was just a question of, like, what do I pick out of all these acceptances? So we had acceptances all the way to Spain. We're sending someone to Spain.
We buy from Spain.
We had acceptances all the way to New York.
Wow.
We had an acceptance at NYU. Colleges out there.
Wow.
We're sending someone to Texas, to Baylor.
Yeehaw.
We're sending them everywhere. We have someone going to DePaul. We have someone going to Kenyon in Ohio. A nice little selective school. If you watch Crash Course, the videos on YouTube, the Crash Course videos with John Green, that's where he went. He went to Kenyon.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't, but it probably makes better radio if I say, yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, The Fault in Our Stars, that was the book he wrote.
Okay,
and
yeah.
So, that's the same college. So we're sending a creative writer out there.
Nice.
Great creative writing school. We're sending our musical theater student up to DePaul in Chicago.
Yeah.
We have two heading off to Idaho. That was a favorite this year.
Idaho, nice.
And so, they're just, I'm going through my list as I talk to you right here. They're just going everywhere. And it was just, they had so many acceptances, it was really, really hard for them to narrow it down. I think that was the big problem. There's just so many options. We had, like, students with 10, 15 acceptances in some cases, just having to figure out where to go.
And Laura, everybody knows that is a great problem to have, right? When you get accepted into every college you apply for, and now you've got to figure out which one you want to go to. And gosh, some of these schools, local and beyond, are not easy schools to get into. You said you have numerous kids going to DePaul. That's a tough school to get into. Now, I'm thinking as you're talking, a kid getting into school in Spain, in New York, in Ohio, in Texas, who was in a homeschool program, possibly their entire educational career, that's a big change. It's a big change for somebody who goes to a high school of 6,000 kids and then travels across the country or around the world to go to school. Have you heard back from any of your previous graduates that are now in college? Because one of the stats that schools are really starting to measure is not college acceptance, but also college viability, if they're sticking, and succeeding. Are you hearing back from any of our previous graduates, Laura?
Yeah, well, one of the things I like to do is when we have a student, especially one that is a first generation, and that means their parents haven't graduated from college. I like to keep in touch with them because one of the things I always say to my families is I'm not trying to get you into college, I'm trying to get you out. Because it's not good enough for me to just get someone in there. And so I stay in touch. We have my favorite. Can I say one of them is my favorite? Don't tell anyone.
Okay, don't worry.
I have a favorite student up at Berkeley. He checks in. I'm like, you have to check in with me every semester. And so he does his usual his phone call home, and we touch base every semester, and he tells me what's going on. And he actually asked me, can I come back and talk to the students at iLEAD and tell them about Berkeley and tell them about all the opportunities, and so I'm going to have him come back and actually talk to a couple of our groups, and I want to kind of have him talk to some other first generation students that are just kind of scared because he's succeeding. And so and then we also have, because we work with a lot of families, the parents are also catching up with me. So I talked to a parent actually yesterday whose son just finished his first year at UC Santa Cruz.
Oh, cool.
She was telling me about he had a band and he was going to be doing this tomorrow. And so I still am hearing from families, even if I don't hear directly from the learners themselves, that they are heading on and finishing. And heard from we have another parent, the graduate is heading off to Whittier, and they have they have an older one who graduated 2-3 years ago who was at Beloit in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We send them everywhere. And that learner is thriving as well. So absolutely, I try to keep track. I want to know that they're succeeding.
Yep.
And my first cohort should be heading towards graduation very soon, and so I want to see them. I want to see them finish.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you talk about your first cohort; it's so neat. Kind of a selfish thing as educators, right? When we send kids off into the world to just kind of watch and take a little bit of vicarious pleasure and all the different success they have, and it's great to hear, Laura. It's great to hear where you're sending so many kids, but it's just so exciting to hear that when they get there, they're succeeding and really thriving, and we've seen that with a lot of our iLEAD schools, really, and so it's just such great validation for the work that we're doing. Speaking of the work that you're doing, Laura, I think college counselor, and I think about, somebody who's got their little office there, who's, pulling people in. But given that you're at an independent study school at iLEAD Exploration, what does that look like? Is all the work that you do virtual, or are you spending a ton of time in your car? What does it look like? What's the process that you typically go through, and how do you engage with your learners?
So I'm sitting here in my makeshift office off the side of my kitchen.
Okay.
So to give you an idea of kind of what it looks like to me, I sometimes can see my family eating breakfast without me, which makes me sad. But they bring me tea while I sit and talk to my learners through Zoom. So I do a lot of work. I always joke and say, "Welcome to my Zoom office." And I try to decorate my Zoom office. I have a big map behind me and all kinds of things. But yeah, I work mostly virtually. Although I'm anticipating that I'm going to get out of my house more next year.
Oh, cool.
It's post-pandemic, and we're all getting back used to being in person again. So one of my goals next year is to do a lot of in-person tours. I noticed whenever we did anything in person, engagement, my learners' engagement increased.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping to do a tour every month where we actually meet in person. The kids get to know each other. I teach a class for juniors. It's a year-long synchronous. We meet every Monday or Tuesday class where they actually get to know each other, and we do project-based learning around college admissions to get them ready for the whole application process for their senior year. And so I do that. That's on Zoom as well, but it's interactive, it's live, and sometimes I can get them to turn on their cameras. And so we are, I'm hoping to increase the level of in-person things that I do over the next year or two. But right now I'm pretty virtual. I feel like I have people all around me because our text message conversation between the counseling and the high school team just runs strong, and I feel like there's always somebody there. Even though I'm in my kitchen not eating breakfast. So, it works pretty well. It's okay, so I can wear pajamas and nobody knows. That's always good.
Your secret's safe with us.
I can roll out of bed right before I have to be at work. I don't have to commute. I used to have to commute like 45 minutes, and so it's good from my point of view. I'm enjoying it.
You got a pretty decent gig, and you're right. By all measurable figures, you're clearly succeeding. Your kids are clearly succeeding, and that's what it's all about. Laura, like I said, every time you or one of your colleagues calls in and talks to us, it blows my mind everything that y'all are doing at iLEAD Exploration. You said, yes, you're an independent study, a home study program, but you're offering live synchronous classes for your juniors to get them ready for college. You're meeting with them in person to tour those college campuses. You're getting them into the most elite universities around the country and around the world, and just doing amazing by our kids at iLEAD Exploration. Laura, we are now officially on summer break. I'm sure you're super excited. Your learners are super excited, but families are starting to look forward to next year. Is iLEAD Exploration still enrolling for next year, or is that window shut?
Oh, no, we're still enrolling. You can just contact our enrollment department, and they just push that paperwork through, and you would be hooked up with a teacher when we return in August.
So you just go to iLEADExploration.org. That's your website, iLEADExploration.org, and click on enrollment. You hit the enrollment button. The interest wizard will walk you through the process. It's really simple. A member of our team will reach out and get you connected. Like Laura said, you'll get connected with a credentialed teacher who will guide you and your learners through the process. If you think you can't, you're wrong. If you think you can, you are absolutely right, and they will walk you through it, providing all the support and curriculum that you need. Again, one more time, iLEADExploration.org, independent study for the 21st century that is just killing it. I think that's what it says on your business card, isn't it, Laura?
Oh, I'll put it there.
Don't do that. Anyways, Laura, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Y'all are absolute rock stars at just doing great things, very innovative, and having tremendous success at iLEAD Exploration. You have a wonderful weekend, and if I don't talk to you, have a great summer, Laura.
You too.
Thanks so much.
Matt.
You are listening to SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Wattson. We'll be right back on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Wattson, your host, and you're listening to SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. A little bit earlier in the show, we were talking about summer blockbuster movies, and I mentioned that Jaws was the very first summer blockbuster ever. I always wondered, what did they do in that summer of 1974? Did they just whatever, we got some movies. Here, come watch. But
I can add a little bit to that just to jump in. I was at Universal Studios just less than a month ago, and they actually talk exactly about that, the reason why there is the quote-unquote summer blockbuster. As you mentioned already, it is because of Jaws.
Right.
But there wasn't really any rhyme or reason to that decision, I guess. It was just summer movies always did poorly prior to Jaws. So I guess there were some scheduling conflicts or shooting delays with the shark because it was so...
the shark's not working. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was hard to fix, so that pushed the movie back from being a winter release into the summer. And so it just so happened that it worked out that way, got released in summer, and it was such a massive hit that the blockbuster was born. So there was no rhyme or reason. Right. It just happened to take so long to shoot. It got released in the summer, and boom, mega hit, summer blockbuster.
And like sports, Hollywood is a copycat industry, and Spielberg and his team made so much money, they figured, all right, what are we going to do to try to match that next year? And every year the studios try to one-up each other and see who can come out with this huge money-making thing in the summertime. So, Shane, do you have a particular summer blockbuster that you've always been fond of? Do you have a favorite summer blockbuster?
Yeah, so I am terrible with movie references across the board, but just kind of thinking back, I don't really have any that stands out as a specific summertime movie, and I know that's really dropping a dead fish on you for this conversation, but I did just see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, again within the last couple of weeks, although it happened before the official first day of summer, which just happened on the 21st. It's a perfect summertime movie, and I thought it was great. And
a lot of people are predicting that that's going to be this year's big summer blockbuster. I think my favorite, and just I'm a huge history buff, a huge World War II fan, and I absolutely love Saving Private Ryan. It's a tough one for me to watch, though. I think I've only seen it twice. One of my all-time favorite movies, but it's so real, it's so authentic. It's hard to watch, right?
Definitely is.
But absolutely love that movie, and I'm looking at the list now. It looks like, at first glance, it looks like Steven Spielberg is probably responsible for about half of these, but how is he not the wealthiest man on the planet yet?
It's funny, I also just pulled up the current movies out right now, just because I don't go so often. I guess there's the new Transformers movie coming out, Rise of the Beasts. That will be the latest iteration. That, depending on the quality of it, could be a big summer blockbuster, especially when you paint the name Transformers on it.
Sure.
Usually brings a lot of people to the theaters.
Well, there's definitely been some of those franchises, right? Star Wars, I think, has had 3 of the top, 47 now, summer blockbuster movies.
There's also the new Spider-Man movie, Across the Spider-Verse. That's the animated installment.
Right, you put a spider or a transforming car on there, and you're guaranteed millions. But looking at some of the biggest franchises, we already mentioned Jaws. E.T., don't know if that classifies as a franchise, but huge summer blockbuster. Indiana Jones, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jurassic Park, Yeah.
I guess Grease was on there as well. Ghostbusters, Batman 1989.
Yeah.
So there's been some iconic movies that came out in the summer, which probably adds to some of the mystique or the allure of some of these titles.
Exactly. Producer Sarah's favorite, Back to the Future. Again, you talk about franchises. For a little while, they were cranking some of those. In fact, I think they released 2 of those movies on the same day, which I'm not sure how you do, but the idea was I guess you theater hop on that one.
Did you stumble into this same biggest summer blockbusters of all time since 1975 article that I'm looking at on IMDb?
Actually, I'm looking at usatoday.com, but they're obviously the same list, right?
IMDb's got it ranked. I guess they're number 1, obvious, which started the conversation, Jaws.
All right.
Number 2, they've got as The Omen, a horror movie from
Right, so you're going by year as well. Exactly. There's quite a few horror films. Right, and then there's Grease, Amityville Horror, which that one terrified me as a kid growing up. Amityville Horror.
See, here I thought they were being ranked by quality or amount of money, but it's just chronological.
No, it's going
order,
by year. It's going by year. And yeah, we've mentioned a lot of them. E.T., some of the Star Wars movies, Ghostbusters, you said, Back to the Future.
Top Gun, the original, 1986.
There you go. Get some Tom Cruise in there. And then this one cracked me up. Biggest summer blockbuster of 1987, Beverly Hills Cop 2. And boy, if there was ever a movie that benefited from its predecessor, not a great movie, but the first one was phenomenal, and so I think it picked up a lot on VHS rentals and things like that.
Both of those I know through reputation, not from having actually seen them. I was born in 94, so that was a little bit past me, and by the time I grew up, we had moved past those movies, probably not age appropriate for a 6-year-old to watch while growing up.
No, probably not. I would encourage you to check out the first one. Yeah, the outfits, some of the styles, things like that are kind of dated, but Eddie Murphy and his humor and the plot of the film was actually really, really good. You might want to check out the original. You might want to skip 1987's biggest summer blockbuster, the second part of that one. And then following, it cracks me up. We go from The Omen, Amityville Horror, Jaws, Beverly Hills Cop to 1988. This is when Hollywood started remembering that children watch movies too. Although this one was for the adults as well. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we get our first superhero in 1989 with Batman, right? Remember when somebody said, yes, Michael Keaton can be a superhero? We get Ghost in 1990, Terminator 2, and then, of course, in 1992, Batman Returns.
A lot of these are great movies themselves, but you wonder how much the release in the summertime really impacted their legacy and their quality and their impact on the person. You know, if they had been released in the winter, would they have the same gravitas? Maybe they would be just as well received, but maybe not these iconic, mega hits that we know them as.
Sure. What would have happened to Jurassic Park if it came out in February, right? Would it be this massive? I'm sure it would be. 825, almost $826 million, just domestic gross. Adjusted for inflation, of course, with Jurassic Park. Incredible. And then again, the kids come back in 94 with The Lion King. And then I love whoever's in charge of coming up with the titles for Batman. You've got Batman Returns, and then 1995, Batman Forever. And I think in 2025, it's going to be, that's right, Batman's back.
Batman Resurrected.
Right, Batman again.
Batman's plural reunited.
Oh, no, it's another Batman. And then, of course, I think this was kind of at least when I was a young adult, the quintessential summer movie in 96, Independence Day. And then, Will Smith, just because the adjusted domestic gross, $624 million wasn't enough. He came back the next year with Men in Black. Not quite as successful. Only $492 million adjusted gross.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and then again,
small change.
Yeah, 98, my favorite, Saving Private Ryan. More Star Wars in 99. 2000, Mission Impossible 2.
Shrek in 2001. How could you forget?
Yeah, absolutely. And then we get into the 2000s, and it's dominated by either children's movies or superhero movies. We get Spider-Man in 2002, Finding Nemo, See, you think you can be a summer blockbuster movie, but you can't, Nemo. Yes, you can. $555 million adjustable gross.
Looking ahead at this list, as soon as we hit the 2000s, we really get into a lot of these mega franchises that we still see around today.
Sure.
1999, Star Wars Episode 1. We have 2000, Mission Impossible 2. 2001, Shrek. 2002, Spider-Man. Finding Nemo in 2003. Not exactly a franchise, but nonetheless, Shrek 2 in 2004. Star Wars Episode 3, 05. We get Pirates of the Caribbean.
Boom, huge
06,
franchise. Spider-Man comes back in 07.
And another Batman in 2008. That's when we got the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, that's when they hired a title guy.
Exactly.
I got to pick a new title. And then in 2009 is when we start to see the rise of the Transformers. It's actually Revenge of the Fallen. But then 2010, Toy Story 3. Who'd have thought? Toy Story 3 was the summer blockbuster, but 2 and 1 didn't quite make it. Interesting.
2010 for Toy Story 3. It's crazy to I'm only 29 years old, but even that one makes me feel a little bit old because that was the big oh my goodness, we got another Toy Story movie, and that was already over 10 years ago.
Right. 2012 is when we get into the Avengers. 2013, Iron Man 3. 2014, Guardians of the Galaxies. Boy, you talk about franchises. And then we get a blast from the past in 2015 with Jurassic World. So, and you said, Shane, that Finding Nemo wasn't a franchise, but here's the second summer blockbuster, biggest movie of the summer for the franchise in 2016, Finding Dory. So,
I guess not so much. I guess I was going for more like a 3-part, 4-part franchise installment. Because right at 2000, that's when we started going straight from the 1 and the 2 to the 3 and the 4, the 5 and the 6. And we still have Fast and Furious. We have another Transformers coming out this year, so they're still hanging around.
Yeah. So, and folks are saying that Fast X could be this year's summer blockbuster.
They're riding the coattails of that summer success, man. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. And boy, they're just cranking them out. Fast X, I'm assuming that means that's the 10th?
Yes, it'll be the 10th, and we'll see if the quality improves or not. I guess more so they've become very mindless. So if you can turn your brain off and enjoy some car crashes and a bunch of people jumping from cars and doing stuff that's completely impossible for about 2 hours, it's a great movie.
Right. And so, yeah, we've mentioned Fast X, Spider-Man, Guardians, all have a shot at being the 2023 summer blockbuster. You know, I've got my money on the sleeper, The Little Mermaid. I think that one's going to be huge this year. So we'll see. It is Friday, so I tell you what, while you scan the movie listings for the weekend and decide which one you're going to throw your money towards for this year's blockbuster, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay tuned. I'm Matt Wattson. You're listening to SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Producer Sarah's going back to the future again. Yeah, we were talking summer blockbuster movies. I've got my movie app open. I hope you do too. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Wattson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. We are coming to you live from the KHTS studios here at the center of Main Street in beautiful downtown Newhall. It is gorgeous down here. If you can hear my voice, I bet it's gorgeous where you are too, because it is gorgeous all over Southern California today. My next guest, I'm really looking forward to talking to. She's got some really exciting news. She grew up with a true heart for education, attending Van Nuys High School and then later the University of La Verne. Lisa Latimer began teaching at Pinecrest Schools in Lancaster in 1988, where she excelled, becoming an expert in early literacy. She soon rose to leadership, becoming the director of that very same Pinecrest campus in Lancaster. Today, she is the proud mother and grandmother who lives in Rancho Vista, California with her loving husband and is the founding director of iLEADS campus in Agua Dulce. She is an unashamed parrot head who spends her free time playing with her grandchildren and wasting away in Margaritaville. Lisa Latimer, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Hi, Matt. Thank you very much for having me on the radio.
It's a pleasure. We love when you come on. I love visiting iLEAD Agua Dulce. It seems like you just kind of step out of, the stressful real world and you step onto this beautiful little hamlet of a campus. I want to talk about that in a little bit, but I love talking to you about iLEAD Agua Dulce. So tell me a little bit tell our listeners about this unique school that you capped in there. First of all, you're located in this just amazing backdrop of Agua Dulce, which is just stunningly beautiful. But then tell us about this gorgeous campus that you've got. Tell us all about your school.
Well, I think you're right. It's really magical. We're surrounded by ranches, and the Agua Dulce, the Vasquez Rocks is our backyard, and it's zen. When you walk on the campus and you see the land and everything, it gives you a sense of calmness. I really love coming here on campus, and we hear that all the time from our families. I think what also brings the magic is our program. We really strive to make sure that our program is an experience and not something of an institution. So when our kids come on campus, they're allowed to be kids. You have such a short window of time to run and jump and climb and be a child, and we really value all of the research behind that. So our kids, you'll see them in the trees, you'll see them on scooters, you'll see them running and playing to be able to build those core strength, those muscles for strength, and be able to exert all of their energy. So when they do go in the classrooms, they're more able to focus. And we have gardens. They're thriving, and we use all of the food from our gardens for our farm-to-table program that we have. We also have chickens. You'll see animals everywhere. We have pigs and chickens and alpaca and miniature cows and donkeys, and we have that for a very specific purpose, not only to build responsibility, but it helps build empathy, and it serves as a greater purpose, especially when our kids have a rough day. They'll go out and just kind of settle in with the animals, and it really helps with that social and emotional aspect. You'll also see high-end technology. We have our Exploratorium where our kids are, we have a 3D printer, and we have high-end creative programs where they can do animation and Photoshop and all sorts of amazing programs within the Exploratorium. We have a makery, which is kind of bringing back the old day wood shop with higher end technology. And we have all of the tools and power tools and hand tools for the kids to be able to go through that design thinking process and build and create. And then we also, this year, just established our music lab, and we have rock band. So we have 5 different rock bands on campus, and our kids are learning music theory and instruments. So we have a lot going on that really is set to help the whole child. We value academics and reading and writing, and we're a project-based learning school, which means we dive deeper into subjects rather than just memorizing for a test, but we also want to make sure that we create experiences so our kids can tap into different passions and expand from there.
Yeah, gosh, and I know the listeners are thinking, gosh, you've got everything on campus. You mentioned all the high-tech instruments that your kids are using to explore in your Exploratorium. You've got vegetable gardens that you're developing a farm-to-table program. Emus, cows, chickens, pigs everywhere. And then, you walk from... I remember recently I was on your campus, Lisa, and I walked from a group of kids that were taking care of, I think it was like a little donkey or something like you had on campus. From there I walked in, and there were kids working on a full lathe, and they were making something there in your makery. And then I walked through the door into your music lab where kids were just giving an incredible rendition of White Stripes, Seven Nation Army, I think it is, just killing it. And then, you go around the corner and into another classroom, and kids are developing their projects. So let's go from outside and inside the classroom. You hit on a little bit, your school uses a curriculum of project-based learning. Can you expand a little bit? Because I know it's so funny. Everybody talks about how they're using project-based learning. Everybody's doing project-based learning in every school. It's all project-based learning nowadays. And then when I look into the school, they're not doing project-based learning. They're doing traditional learning, and then they might do a project. But tell us, Lisa, what is project-based learning? What does it look like in your school, in your classrooms, and why is that so important for learners to be able to develop their curriculum that way?
Well, project-based learning really taps into the high level of critical thinking skills. So rather than, I think there's a misconception when you hear the word project-based. You're thinking that they're making an arts and crafts project, like a diorama, like you said, after they read a book. And that's
right.
not what it is.
It's glitter and glue, right?
Yeah. In a traditional setting, everything's compartmentalized. You take out your math book and you learn the concepts, you take a quiz or a test, and you move on. Same thing for writing. You're writing about a random topic, and then you have the draft, and you re-edit, and you rewrite, and then it's done. And so everything's compartmentalized. With project-based learning, it's all diving deeper, and it's all encompassed. So, for instance, when you're learning about the gold rush, you might learn about the dates and the times and the people,
sure,
but you don't really understand, and there's not a greater connection. What we'll ask is what we'll have is a driving question, and the driving question might be, why do people take risks? Because it was very risky for people to travel westward to and get, left families behind. They used up all of their money. There were things that happened that were great when they took risks, and then there were things that didn't happen that were not so great when you take risks. And so we talk about risk takers, and we talk about modern day risk takers, and what made the people want to go towards finding gold. And so now we're trying to build a connection, and we're bringing it to connect with them. Why would you want to take a risk? And so then we write about it, and we're learning the history about it, and we're diving deeper so the kids are more engaged and want to know more. And another example I can give you are our second graders were learning about the 3 branches of government and how can people make change. I think that was the driving question. How can we make change on our campus? And so, of course, the kids wanted to have a longer recess or better lunch, the typical things, and they learned about, the proper way to make a change, writing a letter, showing examples of why you want this change to be made. Well, we were done with the project, and the kids took a walk to Vasquez Rocks, which is really close, but we still have to be very cautious because of the traffic. It's very fast around the Agua Dulce Road. And the sheriff has to follow us. When the kids got back, they asked our facilitator, our teacher, we need to make a change. There should be a stoplight or a stop sign. And the facilitator said, yes, we just learned about how to make change. What do you think we should do? And they said, we're going to write a letter. And they wrote a letter to the town council. And the town council came out and heard them, and they walked with her and showed where the road was very fast and where they wanted to put a stop sign. And then Supervisor Catherine Barger's office came out. They got in contact with them, and they did the same thing. The kids read their letters to the town council, where it was voted unanimously to send a surveyor out to see what they can do about the road. And the kids were involved in this process the whole time, and then within a few months, all of a sudden we look outside, and there are optical speed bumps being placed on the road. So our second graders made a change within their community. So they were able to see how the process worked. They were involved greatly in this process, and they made a change within their community. That's project-based learning.
Absolutely, and I love that, how... Lisa, when you and I were in school, oftentimes we would think, when am I ever going to use this? What I'm learning, when am I ever going to use this in the real world? In fact, I remember when I was a sophomore in high school, Tommy Green, that impertinent little imp, actually had the gall to ask our algebra teacher, when am I ever going to use this in the real world? But it was a real question, and it still is. But with project-based learning, that question gets taken off the table right away because there it is, right? When am I ever going to use it in the real world? How about tomorrow? and they did, and they affected change in their community. I absolutely love that. And so, yeah, project-based learning truly does prepare your kids for what they're going to be doing in career, in life, in order to change their world, and they don't have to wait until they're growed up to do it. They can do it when they're second graders. But Lisa, PBL, which is what we call project-based learning, it doesn't just stand for project-based learning, not on your campus, does it? Your school also believes firmly in play-based learning. So you talked about how your kids are climbing trees and running around. It really does feel like 30, 40 years ago when kids were outside playing and not stuck on their technology. But can you tell us about what play-based learning is and what it looks like at your school and why it's so important?
Absolutely. We, especially with our early childhood kids, so our kindergarteners, our first graders, our second graders, play has been taken out of schools, and everything is so academically focused. But what the research shows is that kids learn much faster, and they retain the learning when it is done through play. So we do have a curriculum, and our kids are conferring, and they are learning within the classroom. But we also have an outdoor classroom. So we make smaller groups within the classrooms themselves, and then the kids rotate in to our outdoor classroom for more child-led learning. And so we have a lot of creative things that has also been taken out that is so important for healthy brain development. We have painting, we have science labs, we have mud kitchens, we have water play and sensory, and we have gardens. So blocks, like big, huge wooden blocks, so they could go through that engineering process. And there's so much learning taking place. The kids don't realize that it's learning. They're having fun, but there's so many things that are benefits that come from that. They're building their vocabulary skills. When they're in water play, they're learning about science. We never tell kids that the primary colors mixed with each other make a secondary color. We leave food-colored water out there and let them mix so they can discover it on their own. We just really value the research that has been conducted on play for decades, and it shows the true benefits of it. So, like I said before, there's such a short window of time to be a child, and we have to allow our kids to create and to tap into that sense of wonder and discover things on their own. We want them to be flexible in their body and mind, and we want them to be self-confident, and that comes with play. It comes with experimentation and figuring things out on their own. And so we just, like I said, we value that research and we implement it here.
It's so funny, and Lisa, you and I talk about play-based learning all the time, and we know the value of it, but oftentimes we will see parents or even some of our colleagues in the field that say, yes, play is important, but they can play when they're at home. When they're in school, they need to be learning. They need to be involved in rigor. But when you're talking about play-based learning, I hear you saying that your kids are conferring, collaborating, creating, experimenting, exploring, problem solving, constructing. Those are some of the deepest levels of rigor. And then, you flash forward, not even too far forward, just a couple years forward, and that leads into this beautiful sense of creation. Kids are so much more aware of what they can do and what the world around them has to offer. That leads into, the technology exploration and the things they're doing in your makery, your music lab, but also in their academic classes. And, just a couple years later, you've got airplanes on your campus and kids are learning to fly, Lisa? Is that, am I reading this correctly?
Yes, our 8th graders have, it's a legacy project, and they learn about the principles of flight within the classroom. They are connected with pilots from different areas, such as, flying a pilot who flies a regular airplane, and one who might do a glider, and one who fly something different. And so they learn about all of the different aspects of flight. They practice on a simulator, and then the culmination of the project, they go to Tehachapi, and they actually fly in a glider. And so they, at some point, they get to take the reins and fly it on their own with a professional with them. And they get to see again, it's applying their learning to something in real life that can tap into a passion. And so what's the most beautiful part about this is we have several kids who never even thought about being a pilot before go through this entire program and process, and now they're in a glider school trying to get their pilot's license.
Yeah.
So, again, project-based learning is taking it, showing how it's applicable, tapping into a passion, and then, expanding it into the real world.
Yeah, it is. At iLEAD Agua Dulce, the kids aren't learning about it, they're doing it. And, Lisa, you're right. I actually got a text from an old friend of mine who's got a kid on your campus that after going through that glider project applied for, I think it was ground school, a program through kind of an extension of this project at iLEAD Agua Dulce, and she's accepted into ground school. She's going to start working on her pilot's license, and this parent was just super excited. Lisa Latimer is the school director at the innovative iLEAD Agua Dulce Charter School. I'm telling you, you ain't never seen a school like this before. They've got emus and airplanes. They're climbing trees and growing veggies. You're going to hear more about it. Oh, yeah, and they've been in the news lately. They've got some big news. I'm going to ask Lisa to share that with us when we get back. I'm Matt Wattson, and you're listening to SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Wattson, and this morning we are talking to the school director at the innovative iLEAD Agua Dulce Charter School, Lisa Latimer. Lisa, during the commercial break, you issued a correction and retraction. You corrected me and let me know, unfortunately we don't have emus on your campus anymore. Apparently, the whole purpose of having the emus on campus, well, besides all of the tremendous benefits that they give your learners, along with the other animals, the opportunity to care for something, they learn about animal husbandry and how to take care of them and all these different things, but it also serves a benefit for some of the animals. The emus were there for socialization, and that worked, and they've now been reintegrated or sent back to, you didn't send emus back to the wild. Where'd they go, Lisa?
It's a two-part program. One, we have our Forever Animals.
Okay.
And then the other part, we work with a nonprofit animal program, and we get babies sometimes, and we help to socialize them and care for them, and then they're found forever homes. And so these are rescue animals. Some of our forever animals are also rescued from kill pens, and so we help with that process of socializing them so they can find a forever loving home.
That is beautiful. One of your fourth graders actually taught me that. Maybe, I think it was last year, I was on campus, and I don't remember which animal it was, but she was taking care of this animal, and I said, would you tell me about, I think maybe it was it, I don't know, maybe one of the alpacas. Can you tell me about the alpaca? Yeah, they were in a kill shelter where it was, nobody wanted this alpaca, and so they're just going to kill it and do, I don't know, make tacos or something. I don't know. And your school was able to rescue it, bring it onto the campus, and now it's living its best life there with your kids taking care of it, and it's just become part of the iLEAD Agua Dulce family. I love that sense of community and synergy that your kids get out of it. But Lisa, I mentioned before the break that your school has been in the news a lot lately. You've got a couple of things going on. Well, you've got a ton of things going on, but recently your school was given, among other things, a 6-year extension from WASC, which stands for the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. First of all, can you explain kind of what WASC accreditation is and why it's important, especially for a charter school?
Absolutely. It holds us accountable for what we do here on campus, and it's extremely rigorous. You have to submit a self-study. You go through a very long process of meeting with the WASC committee who comes out to ensure that your self-study, what's in it, that you're actually doing it, and that we have a rigorous program that is reflective of rigor and doing all of the right things for children. And we also, there's a reflective piece, so we say what we do well and what we want to work on, and we're held accountable to ensure that we are working on whatever we have discovered through the self-study process. It's just a very important piece to have. It just shows that we are doing right by children.
Yeah, absolutely. Right by children, right by the taxpayers, because they analyze your finances, and they just, you said, we've got that state test, just like every other school does, to make sure that our kids are progressing, but WASC analyzes every portion, every facet of your school program to make sure that you're kind of flying right, and congratulations.
Absolutely everything, yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations, you received a 6-year accreditation. Is that pretty much typically, is it like a 6-year term, they come in, you hit all the check boxes, and then you get another 6 years and they come back?
Yes, and they'll do a visit in between to talk about what we're working on to ensure that we're continuing to improve and continue to be reflective of our program. Okay,
and so it's always a 6-year kind of thing, or does that vary?
Not everyone gets a 6-year, so we're excited that we were able to get a 6-year. There's, I think, different levels of what a school might get according to their self-study on the visit, and we got the 6-year, which is the longest amount of time that you can have.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to. I was leading the witness there a little bit, Your Honor. I've actually been on WASC committees that have visited other schools, and yes, we have given. I think one of the schools that I visited got a 6-year. There have been schools that had 5 years. I've been at schools that have had 1-year accreditations, where basically it says we're going to give you 1 more year, but we want to see some major improvement. But yeah, you got the highest possible term there. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, they kind of signed off and said things are going incredibly well here. But they aren't the only educational group that has visited your campus lately. They aren't the only group that said, yeah, we kind of like what's going on here at Agua Dulce, and your program is phenomenal and going to continue to grow, right? You also recently were authorized as an IB school. IB is short for International Baccalaureate, which is... WASC is too, but becoming an IB school is kind of a really big deal. Can you explain what that means, Lisa?
Right. So the International Baccalaureate program is committed. It takes it from the national standpoint to international. So this is from all over the world, and it's highly recognized by colleges and universities. So it's a great advantage for our learners to have that when they go through the college application process, because it's a very rigorous program, and it takes the learners from memorizing for a test into, again, like project-based learning, into deeper thinking. And so our IB portion is with our career program, so which is business. And we also have IB English and IB History. So that's what we're going to be implementing next year with our 11th graders. And it really dives deeper. It's, oh my gosh, it has them thinking critically, being able to have civic engagement. So it's not just, like I said, studying for a test. There are service hours that our kids need to do. It's to get them to being caring, open-minded, reflective. It's to develop, I think, a greater level of self-confidence and maturity within them. And they're the pilots of their own learning. So they're not being told just what to learn. They are a big part of that process. And it gets them just to think on a higher level skill, being self-directive, collaborative, and reflective, and academically strong.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. You hit on a term that I think just nails it to a T, deeper learning. I've been in some of the IB classes, and the concepts that our juniors and seniors are discussing are concepts that we never even broached when I was in my undergrad and college. Things like, okay, how do we know what we know as a species? Like examining what we know to be truth as a species, and exploring things like what is justice. Just absolutely incredible stuff. Now, the International Baccalaureate offers several different types of programs, all of them, like you said, highly rigorous. Kids are getting kind of extra grade points, college credit, things like that, similar to the AP, but like you said, it's so much more than just taking a test. There are different programs. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it really helps them to become a lifelong learner, be involved in their community, developing a capacity to make a positive difference in the world. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, gosh, it sounds like you're just reading from their website. You nailed it. You should. You've been through this really rigorous process of approval. And what they approved iLEAD Agua Dulce for was, I think it was a CP. Is that a career program? Is that what that is?
Yes, that's the career program, and that's our main focus for the IB program would be in the career path,
okay.
And
career
business
path
would be the career path that we have selected for our learners.
Okay, so all right, so it's kind of a business focus. So the focus of your IB program is again going with deep rigor, but developing those entrepreneurs and business leaders for the future.
Absolutely.
I love it. So, gosh, it seems like you've just got really something for everyone on your campus, and you're going so many different directions, but that's just typical for the personalized learning model that iLEAD has developed. Now, Lisa, you initially opened as a kindergarten through 5th grade school, but you're expanding on both ends. What grade levels do you offer at iLEAD Agua Dulce?
TK through 11th grade this coming year, and then the following year we will go through 12th grade.
All right. So yeah, you've got TK, which is what kids that are like 4.5 at enrollment, right?
Correct. Turning 5 before April, I believe.
Okay. So as long as kids will be 5 by April of 2024, they can enroll in your TK program, and then you've got all the grades up through this year, junior year, 11th grade, and then those 11th graders will become seniors, and your first graduating class. Gulp. So exciting.
I know. And we had our first driver on our campus this year, and it was so surreal because we watched these kids grow up, and so it just kind of blew my mind. Like, wait a minute, you're driving now? What? So that was exciting to have our first driver.
Oh, wow. Yeah, gosh, that is exciting, especially, for someone, you and I kind of had the same wheelhouse with early childhood education. You spent most of your career teaching kids how to read, and you and I have worked mostly with middle school, and then all of a sudden, or with elementary school, and then all of a sudden one of the kids shows up in a car. That is crazy. Okay, so we're heading into the summer. I'm sure you and your staff are excited about that. Are you full for next fall, or are you still enrolling?
We are still enrolling for some grade levels. Other grade levels, we do have a waiting list, which we're really excited about.
Okay.
But we are still enrolling for many grade levels. So definitely stop on by, come take a tour, because once you see it, you'll love it, and you'll understand everything that I'm trying to articulate. It is an amazing place, and it is a happy place. We want there to be joy in learning, which is so important, and we want our kids to feel like they are community. So we're a family here, and we know each other. Everyone knows all of our staff, and we know all of the families and our learners. And we just would love to have more additions to our families. So please stop on by and take a tour every Thursday at 10 a.m. Give us a call. We'll be more than happy to meet up if you can't make it at that time.
So, gosh, Lisa, that brings another question to my mind. I mentioned that y'all are getting ready to go off on vacation. Are you still doing tours over the summertime?
We are, and we'll be here.
Okay.
We will be here, so we are definitely giving tours, and we would love for anyone who's interested to come on by and meet us. And
folks should call ahead of time just to make sure that
that would be great.
Yeah, so they can get your phone number on your website, iLEADaguadulce.org. Super easy, iLEADaguadulce.org. Now, Lisa, I don't want to let you go before I do get into. We talked about your IB program. We talked about the different things that you're already doing to get your kiddos ready for college. But tell us about your high school, because your high school is pretty unique, right? Can you describe what the program looks like once kids get into 9th, 10th, 11th grade?
It is. It's a smaller environment because we're just starting it up, but we love the smaller environment because the kids get a lot of that one-on-one attention and being able to get a tremendous amount of support. We are a hybrid program, so it is independent study, but they're also here on campus with our facilitators in workshops and they're learning and in classes. They're here 4 days a week from Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays are optional to come in because many of our learners will be, we try to get internships for them, so it gives them that flexibility to do learning off campus as well and expand upon their passions and things that they really want to tap into. So it is a smaller program, like I said. They're getting a lot of individual attention. It's a hybrid program, and it allows for that flexibility for them to be able to do what they want to do as well.
Yeah, so they're
a lot of our kids are concurrently enrolled in college courses at the local community college.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to one of your parents the other day, one of your high school parents. She shot me a text and said, "Hey, I'm having lunch with a friend of mine, and she tells me that high schoolers can no longer do concurrent enrollment with our local community college. Is that true?" And I told her, "Absolutely not. You need to throw some water in your friend's face. Our kids at iLEAD Agua Dulce are doing that, and yeah, so you've got kids that are, well, they're doing their high school Monday through Thursday there on campus at iLEAD Agua Dulce. They're doing high school and college off campus on Friday, and they're learning and growing. I had the opportunity to be in your high school just a few weeks ago as kids were presenting their personal project, which just blew me away. Can you share just for a minute about what that personal project is and what need it meets for your kids?
Yeah, it's a year-long project, so they're working, they're tapping into their passions. So they're kind of going out there and seeing what they're passionate about, and so there might be a bunch of different areas, and then they narrow it down to one, and so they're given that opportunity and time to figure out what is something that they would want to pursue or what their strengths are and their talents, and they're looking at it through a deeper lens. Then they present that at the end of the year, what they learned from it, what the trials and tribulations were, where they grew from failure and they learned and they persevered. We have one of our learners is an amazing artist, and so she would just doodle. It was a bunch of doodles that she was making, and then she realized how much this was part of her passion. So she created an entire storyline. So she created a comic book from it, and she had to learn about how to storyboard and what aspects go into creating a comic book, or it was a romantic novel comic book is what she did. And the pictures, and it's not just about art, but how do you make sure you have the proper colors in there. And so there was a lot of deeper learning that was taking place, and she presented her draft of what her first characters would look like, and then how that really didn't work, and they were connected with experts in the field, so they worked alongside experts the whole year who gave them tips of the trade and what to look for. And by the end, all of their presentations were just absolutely amazing, and things that they do want to pursue once they leave high school.
Yeah, I was there for the whole day and just was so inspired. You know, I cheered with some of your kids. I cried with some of your kids as they presented. It really was amazing. One of your learners decided his passion was to learn the German language. Didn't take a German class on campus, took the year and taught himself German, got himself a mentor or a mentoring, and learned to speak German. It was incredible. Gosh, Lisa, I said,
they have to write an entire paper on the entire process. And then the reason you were there, you were an assessor.
I was.
So there were a panel of professionals who listened to their presentations, and then at the end they had to go through a reflective piece on what they did well and where they could have improved in regards to their papers that they turned in. And so it was truly a reflective piece, and like you said, there was so much self-directed learning, which is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lisa, I said it before, you've got so much going on your campus. It's so inspiring. Kids are learning their passions. They're learning about the world. They are getting one-on-one attention. enrolling in college while they're still in high school, developing internships, learning to fly, climbing trees, taking care of animals, just doing all kinds of crazy things. They're rocking out. They're building things. It's just so amazing. Lisa Latimer is the director of iLEAD Agua Dulce. Again, she's still got a few spots open to enroll. Check them out at iLEADaguadulce.org. Click the Enroll Now button or give them a call. Take a tour. I know if you've been listening to us, you're curious about her school. Lisa's right. Take a tour. You will not believe your eyes. They're leading tours on Thursdays. Give them a call. Or like I said, just hit the enrollment button at iLEADaguadulce.org. Lisa, thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate it. You have a great weekend and a wonderful summer.
Thank you, Matt. You too.
Absolutely. Send my love to Petunia. This is SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Wattson. We will be right back with Chuckles the Clown on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLEADSchools Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Wattson, and now it is time for Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame. Big T, well, as we heard last week, Big T has taken his leadership skills to Central Washington, but he is still the man. He's an executive and philanthropist. He's an amazing father, husband, and community leader, and he's still trying to take what I got. Here he is, everybody. He's Mom's favorite. Big T, welcome to the show.
Morning, Matty. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing, brother man?
I'm doing good. Hey, Matty, have you ever seen Rattlesnake Mountain?
I have not. Where is that?
It's right over there.
Oh, all right. Very cool. Thanks for pointing that out to us. We appreciate it.
So, no worries.
Hey, Big T, we've got the old timer, the legend. We've got engineer Shane in the studio with us. So Shane's going to be playing with us this morning.
Having a little extra fun.
Absolutely. And for those of you listening along at home, you can play with us as well. Shane, I know it's been a long time, so let me explain the rules to you. Big T is going to throw some trivia questions at us, and what you need to do is hit your buzzer. Did Carlos leave the buzzer over there for you?
He did not, but I do have a couple of sound effects that I can do.
I like that.
Love it. Love it.
I've got a ding-ding sound. I've got applause. They're all like 3 seconds. So, I've got a couple buttons at my disposal.
All right. Well, I tell you what. I'm going to let you go ahead and use those sound effects. Your buzzer is actually your name, though.
Gotcha.
So when Big T throws out the question, if you know the answer, shout your name out, and then Big T will recognize you. You give your answer, you get a point. The folks playing along at home actually have an advantage over us, though. They don't have to hit their buzzers. They can just shout out the answer.
Okay.
Right? So they're going to keep score at home, see if they can beat us. Shane's a pretty smart guy, though. He is a man of the world. He spent the last couple of years in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so he knows a thing or two. And then humbly, or not so humbly, I do pretty well myself. Now, I said that last week, and then Engineer Andrew and I just sat there and gave crickets to like the first 6 questions. But so yeah, I'll keep score here in the studio. You keep score. You keep score there at home. And Big T, let's do this.
Frogger, did you just describe Tulsa as being worldly?
It's a different part of the world that I visited, adding to my world experience.
I can find it on a globe.
Awesome. Perfect. All righty, question number 1. What country is responsible for creating the Olympic Games?
Frogger.
Frogger.
Greece.
That is correct.
Boom.
What's the smallest country in the world?
Frogger.
Frogger.
The Vatican City.
Ooh, less than 0.2 of a mile. That is correct.
Yeah, and fewer people than Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Probably.
Yes, very much so. Area 51 is located in what U.S. state?
Shane.
Ooh.
Shane.
Nevada?
Nevada. Nice pull. Way to be quick, Shane.
Yeah.
What number amendment to the Constitution deals with the freedom of speech?
Frogger.
Frogger.
That's the First Amendment.
Incorrect.
Shane?
Shane.
I said my name without an answer in my head.
It's because you know it's the First Amendment.
It's the first,
I got it right.
It's the First Amendment.
Both of you get ready to kick yourself. It's the Fifth Amendment. I plead the Fifth.
No.
No?
No.
I gave him the ding.
No. That's freedom from self-prosecution. I'm giving myself the point. You're just straight up wrong, Big T.
Big T may be incorrect. All right, fine.
Yeah. This is not a scientific quiz. This is just for fun and games.
The disease cirrhosis usually affects what part of the body?
Frogger.
Frogger.
My liver.
the liver. Nice pull, Beavis. It was the other one, but I'm not going to say that on the air. Public Enemy's Fight the Power was featured in what Spike Lee film?
I know it. It is.
Spike Lee's out of my wheelhouse. This is all you.
Right, Shane's a youngin'. Is this Jungle Fever?
No, it is incorrect. It is actually Fight the Power.
Fight the Power was... Oh, jeez. The answer was there in the question.
No, it was, excuse me, Do the Right Thing.
Do the right... Oh, okay.
There we go.
All right.
All righty. What U.S. city is the most diverse in terms of languages spoken?
Shane. Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Oh! Frogger. Well, it's either Des Moines, Iowa, or New York City, then.
Yeah, we'll go with New York City.
All right, cool. And the crowd goes wild.
What does exonerate mean?
Shane.
Shane.
To absolve somebody of their committed crime or accusations or wrongdoings.
100% correct. Nice poll, Shane.
Exonerate, big word.
What songwriter, guitarist, singer switched his performing last name to the capital of his favorite state?
That is a...
Frogger.
That got to be John Denver, right?
That is correct.
Wow, nice.
Or Marky Minneapolis. Yeah.
That's Marky Minneapolis, yes. What is the largest planet of the solar system?
Shane. Jupiter.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, please. That was like elementary school, man. Tell me I'm right on that one.
What's the largest bone in the human body?
Shane.
Shane.
Femur.
There we go.
Femur's correct.
All right.
The leg bone.
I went to school at one point.
What are the ingredients for the drink John Daly?
John Daly.
Frogger.
It's iced tea and lemonade, right? Oh,
that's the Arnold Palmer.
That's the other golfer. What's a John Daly?
I'm also out on this one. I would guess. My guess would be a Jack and Coke.
It is iced tea, lemonade, and vodka.
See,
okay.
You didn't let me finish.
Well, there's been a lot of that going on throughout your entire life, Matty.
Careful, Big T. This is a family show.
I understand that. That's what, number one. How high is the net for a regulation volleyball court?
Frogger.
Oh.
All the way up.
Yes.
Volleyball, I got nothing for you on volleyball.
8 feet high.
8 feet. Really? Is it only 8 feet?
It is only 8 feet.
All right.
What's the most common name for dried plums?
Frogger. Prunes.
Prunes is correct. What cigarette brand co-sponsored the first episode of The Flintstones in 1960?
Shane.
I'm
going to go with Marlboro.
That would be my guess as well, but that is incorrect. Barney, you got anything?
I'm just loving the fact that Fred and Barney here are pushing cigarettes. Let's go Pall Mall.
It's actually Winston.
Oh.
Definitely something that you should Google search. There is a commercial break where Fred and Barney watch their wives mowing the lawn as they talk about the refreshing taste of a Winston, and they smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, boy.
It's so disturbing.
Now I know why they call them the good old days. Hey, Big T, we do have to wrap. Shane, you gave a valiant effort. I do appreciate it. Big T, thanks for popping by. I want to thank College Advisor with iLEAD Exploration, Laura Kazan, as well. Director of iLEAD Agua Dulce, Lisa Latimer. Big T, producer Sarah, engineer Shane, and thank you for listening. Hey, remember, life is hard, but we're all here to help each other along. Be well and do good. Join us again next week and every Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. I am Matt Wattson. This is SCVi and iLEADSchools, Eye on the Valley, on your hometown station, KHTS.